Hi, welcome to this tutorial on creating a simple scene within the Voxon Unity SDK. Within this tutorial, I'm going to cover how to make the basic scene as shown here. This scene covers generating objects, working within the VX1 simulator, and allowing for keyboard input. Firstly, we'll go into a new scene. Within the scene, we're going to need a camera to capture item data to be sent to the VX1. This simple cube is going to operate as our camera. To ensure that it's in the right ratio for the VX1, we need to ensure that scale is set at 1.41. This ratio currently mirrors the VX1. Obviously, this can be scaled up and down, but it needs to maintain this aspect ratio. To ease development within this scene, we're going to add a material. We have one provided called M camera material, which simply makes the object translucent. Now, to ensure that this camera will work within the VX1, we need to go to Voxon, Process, and under Edit a Camera, drag our camera across. For the moment, we'll rename this to Camera to make life easier. Now, we need to just quickly test to make sure everything is working correctly, so we can simply hit play. And there is our scene rendering. As you notice, there is currently a giant blue border. That is caused by the object itself. To ensure that the camera does not appear within the scene, we can simply go under tags and go Voxy hide. Now, if we return, the camera is no longer drawn within the scene. It currently looks completely blank, and it may be a little bit difficult to work out exactly where your parameters, your borders are. To ensure you know where your borders are, go to Process and click Guidelines. This will ensure the drawable area is now always highlighted. Depending on your preferences, you may wish to adjust this to get a better view of the scene. Now that we've got our scene being drawn, let's add a few objects to it. First, we'll create a plane for objects to live within. Obviously, this plane is quite a bit larger than our current camera, so let's scale up our camera. There. Now, we prefer our plane to be at the base of the camera, so we can adjust our camera around like this. Now, planes existing at the very bottom, drawn planes existing at the very bottom of the scene will appear as flickery because of the way the screen moves up and down rapidly. Anything in the middle will appear at as long as the game or program you're making runs consistently at 30 frames per second. Anything in the middle will be 30, but anything at the bottom will be half that at 15, as it is drawn twice very rapidly before the screen moves back up. So anything at the bottom you should aim to either have darker in color or not drawn at all. Since this is purely there to catch any physics objects we may wish to work with later, we can simply set it as Voxy hide as well. Now we're going to add a number of cubes to the scene. So just for convenience, I'm just going to call them N cube, S cube, W cube, and E cube, just to keep things in order. So we'll move each of these to the center, lift them all up slightly, and redistribute them. Now that the cubes are appearing within our scene, let's give it a quick test. And there we are. Not quite arranged perfectly, but we do our best. So we'll bring this outlier into place. There we are. Looks a little better. Alright, so now that we've got our scene all set up, let's just add a movement script to our northern cube. There we are. This movement script doesn't currently have anything in it, so what we're going to do is add a few keyboard inputs. Now, if you've used Unity in the past, you know that input.getKey or getKey will allow us to return a Boolean value saying yes or no based on if a key is pressed. Since the default input system doesn't work within the VoxyBox or the VX1, we instead need to use a custom created one under voxon.input.getKey and action name. This seems a bit strange if you've used Unity before, as often getKey works with only key codes. In the Voxon input manager, we use action names for all actions. This can be set up under the input manager, go back to Unity, Voxon, input manager, and here is a custom input manager for you to use. As you can see, you can use keyboard, mouse, joys 1 through 4 to develop within your game. To add a new action, you simply go to the plus, type in the keyboard's the action's name, so in our case, just action, and choose a key binding. I'm going to go with T for the moment. So, in our case, we're going to try and rotate rather than just direct around a cube. So I've got everything set up. We can hit save to save this. As you can see, it is saved as a JSON file. And we save the project. Now, we can go back in to our script. So, get key action. So, if get key action game object, which is any game object that this script is currently attached to, get its transform and its rotation. So all we need to do in this case is rotate, and we'll give it a value. Since this is actually measured in Euler, let's do that as 0.1f. So there we are, rotate. It needs to be in a vector 3, so let's do this as vector 3 and 0. We've got a bracket. There we are. So now let's give this a try. We'll wait for it to compile, hit run, and hold T. And as we can see there, it is very, very slowly rotating through the scene. We might just up that a bit, make it a bit more impressive. And there we go. So, as you can see here, we've got objects appearing within the scene. They're moving. Now let's add a color to each of these cubes. All we need is a set of materials. There are a collection provided already. So we'll save our scene again. We will go textures, grab a blue for our northern cube, cyan for our southern, green for our west, and a red for our eastern. And then we just hit play. There we are. As you can see with the simulator, it does actually simulate the merging of colors as you see through the spheres, because to be certain, there is no way to obscure objects within the scene. All colors will just be seen as a straight line through all of the objects. There is also no way to draw black. Things to be aware of when working within the VX1. We can also quite easily just add textures. No special changes need to be made there. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial.